All right, we're back with another Auburn Live show. You know what time it is. It's the Monday morning quarterback edition with our friend, former Auburn quarterback, Ben Leard. Ben, I know it was a rough one for you. I know how much this one means to you. How you
Yeah,
feeling?
man, it was.
How you feeling a day or two later?
Well, I mean, obviously, Hope, you're disappointed in the loss, and you're disappointed in losing. You know, 24-10, or excuse me, 34-10. So you're upset about it. You don't like it any more than the next person, but ultimately, Georgia is a really, really good football team, especially defensively. You've got to give them respect. The fact that they played the way they were supposed to. They did exactly what Auburn and all of the fans would have expected them to do. But Auburn, on the flip side, did just fail to make the plays when they needed to make the plays. And that was in my opinion, the contributing factor to what put Georgia in such an insurmountable lead, and Auburn playing catch up from the word go. But it sucks bad. I mean, no one likes to lose to Georgia, most importantly, or to get beaten that badly against Georgia and be dominated by Georgia for this has been 2 decades basically of dominance by the kids from Athens. So you're disappointed in the sense that it's turned out to be that way, and it doesn't appear that it's going to change at any point in time, in the very near future, unfortunately. But you just got to go back to the drawing board, man. I mean, they've got to make the plays when they're there to be made, and convert when it's needed to be converted. Cover when you're supposed to cover. Just the little things, man. I mean, there were a lot of good things taken out of that game. But at the same time, there were a lot of things that happened that ultimately, in my opinion, contributed to Georgia's success.
Yeah, Georgia's really good. Let's go through some of the numbers just real quick. First downs 22-17 for Georgia. Total yards 432 for Georgia, 318 for Auburn. Plays ended up almost even. Passing yards 231-272. Auburn ended up with 272, but Finley had 50 garbage time. Bo Nix only threw for 217. Rushing yards Georgia 201, Auburn 46. We knew that was going to be an issue. Bo Nix, I think, was sacked 3 times. He hadn't been sacked against Penn State and LSU. Again, Georgia's a different animal. Time of possession, Georgia really took over. Auburn had 16 minutes plus in the first half, only 10 minutes or so in the second half. Georgia ended up with 33 minutes of time of possession in that game. I think Auburn, we talked about Auburn needing to probably put the game in Stetson Bennett's hands. And that's not a slight on him. It's just that when you've got a stable of backs like Georgia has, in a line like that, you can't let that happen. Auburn did a good job against the run in the first half. Georgia didn't have but 35, 40 yards rushing. But those play action passes, those big plays, just really opened things up. They hurt Auburn bad. And then Georgia came out in the very first drive. I was up in the press box with my colleague Cole Pinkston, and I mean 3 or 4 runs in, I said, it's clear as day what they're about to try to do. They're up 17-3. I was like, that right now they're about to start leaning on Auburn. And so by the end of the third, fourth quarter, they're just going to control this game. And and they did. They ran for, $165 in the second half, and Auburn's defense, I thought, for the most part, performed admirably. Certainly the front seven did. I thought they did probably the best they could. There was a stretch there late third quarter into the fourth quarter where they were on the field a lot. I agree with you. When you play a team that good, you can't make very many mistakes at all.
Yeah.
You certainly can't. Have 7 drops, and of those drops, one was a touchdown. One was a fourth down conversion. The very next play, Georgia threw a 60-yard bomb. Another one was what turned out to be an interception that led to 3 points. I mean, literally 3 drops. They weren't just drops. I mean, they almost directly led to points.
Yeah.
In the other direction. And then the busted coverages, it's like a broken record. That Nehemiah Pritchett, and give him I guess we'll give a little credit to McConkey. That kid's very fast. He's a great route runner.
He's really good, man.
But Pritchett got smoked a couple times, and it just can't continue to give up these big plays. You're going to be on an island on some of those. And it torched them.
At the same time, look at it like this too, though. It baffles me just a little bit in the sense that this is not new to this secondary 6 games into the season. So, with that being said, why is Auburn running zero coverage and leaving Pritchett on an island against the McConkey kid?
Yeah.
Or, so you're sitting there thinking, man, why are we putting that level of pressure on a young man that is already kind of playing from behind? And that's a big question mark. So why do you do that? And I'll go so far as to say, like, if you think of it, and I don't know what plays that the statisticians and you probably can answer this, are, when we say 7 drops.
I counted 7. Just in this case, I literally was counting. So that's my count.
So all right. Do you consider, other than the Shivers tip ball that Nakobe intercepted, which was a phenomenal play on his part, are we considering the balls that hit Shivers kind of in the thigh and bounced off? I mean, are we considering those drops as well?
Really.
Are we going? We going Shedrick Jackson? Are we going Demetrius Robertson, who probably had 3 by himself?
He did. He had 3 from my count.
You're looking at those along, and then obviously the Shivers. So that's that in itself. In my mind, that's
Shankers 6. And Shanker, the first one down, their very first drive.
That's right.
That's one where people go, he could have put it here and there. I'm like, come on. No, look, you can't start getting into a thing where you say, Bo should have put it right here. Like, he put it in a spot that Shanker could have made the catch and the DB could not have made a play.
Correct.
Tough as it was.
Correct. All right. So if you're going to split hairs, sure, Bo could have thrown the ball in a more perfect place.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Sure. But the kid's an SEC tight end. Make the catch.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I promise you, Shanker, if he was on this, I promise you he'd go, I have to make that catch. That's on me.
Yeah.
I promise you he would say that.
No doubt. And so I mean, and this is not just harping on negativity by any means. And I'm sure that Brian Harsin and Bobo and even Derek Mason and anybody that is worth their salt watching a game like this against such a high caliber opponent as Georgia, you've got to make the plays.
Mm-hmm.
Period. You've got to make the catches. You've got to make the level of catches that Demetrius Robertson made on the fade ball that got them down inside the red zone late in the game when ultimately Tank made that great run to put it at 24-10.
Yeah.
So those are the types of catches you make. It should be a guarantee catch on a stick it post on 3rd and 9 that the ball doesn't hit Shedrick Jackson in the face and you ultimately have to punt. It should be a 4th and 9 and it hits Demetrius Robertson in the gut and he drops it, and all you're doing is setting your defense up to fail because the next play they go play action pass 60 to McConkey. Yeah. Those types of plays are 100% just, I'm talking killers.
Yeah.
Killers. You got to play it. You got to play almost a perfect game in an effort in a situation like that to be in competitiveness, in a competitive scenario with a team like that. It's not going to do it when you're dropping balls and missing balls, things of that nature. And I think that's, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't want to be harping on the negative. There was some good things that came out of that. They had some great drives. I mean, early on in the game, they had Georgia on their heels defensively. They were doing some really, really good things, being creative with time, being creative with their ability to throw the football, and Bo was getting out of the pocket, doing some things. So it was good to see. But there is some positives to what came out of it. But unfortunately, Georgia was just a better team, and that's just it. I mean, they are at this point right now a better football team than Auburn is. So you just got to go back to the drawing board and hope you get back in the mix by beating Arkansas on Saturday.
Yeah, I think that's an important perspective when we're talking about this game, and that is Georgia's better. Georgia's the best team in the country, and they're really solid across the board. They're great on defense. They have a fantastic offensive line, fantastic stable of running backs, really good quarterback, and receivers that do the job.
And
so
look,
it's important.
Hey, I'll say this too, and there will be people that listen to this that probably think I am smoking crack, but the outcome of last night's game in College Station, Texas, gave me a much needed shot in the arm of confidence that there could be, I mean, it's slim, that there could be a chance, in the sense that I think Auburn beats Arkansas Saturday. I really do. I think Arkansas at this point is somewhat exposed. Everybody realizes what they are. They are a juggernaut offensively, but they can't stop anybody. So it's going to be a scoring fest. They're beat up. I think Auburn's toughest matchups, obviously for the remainder of the season, are Texas A&M, because it's at A&M, and then obviously Alabama. But these are games. I feel Georgia, in my opinion, the way they were playing is 100% potentially the toughest mountain for Auburn to climb. I think, and I wouldn't rank them, but there are several winnable games for Auburn for the remainder of the season. They're not going to be easy by any means, but they can be won. And everybody has an Achilles heel.
Yeah. I won't get into we'll talk about the Arkansas game more. I'll talk about it more and we'll see if my mind changes. As of right now, I don't think they win the game. But I think it's a tough task. It's gonna be a super physical game. I'm just not sure at this moment. I think the Georgia game, but back to the Georgia game, I think the thing to keep in perspective is Georgia's a better team. Like, don't hear me or you, I think. And if you're an Auburn fan, don't create expectations that if they would have done these things, they would have beaten Georgia. Like, maybe they'd have been in the game. I think the important stuff is you want to see growth with this team. You want to see things get better. You want to see them do things that set them up and say, okay, they didn't lose. They lost to Georgia, but if they play like that against Arkansas, they'll win. If they play like that against Ole Miss, they'll win. I can't say that. If they play like that against Arkansas, they'll lose. If they play like that against Ole Miss, they'll lose. So I want to see them –
especially defensively.
Yeah.
Especially.
So I want to see them do – and I think the frustration, 6 games in is it's a broken record. Busted coverages, drops. We've been talking about those all season. It continues to be an issue. And I actually think Bo Nix the last 2 games has played good enough to win those games. I know, gosh, he's the most scrutinized, easy target. It's just so at this point, you really the Bo Nix criticism. Look, sometimes it's very warranted. That's fine, but let's try a little harder now. And I think Bo Nix the last 2 games has played good enough to win.
Yeah.
He's played decent football. He has. He threw some passes against Georgia that were some of the best balls I've ever seen him throw. I'm talking about he threw a couple of slants. He threw an RPO to Kobe Hudson. He threw maybe on the first drive where he looked left, came back, and just threw a dart. Kobe Hudson made a good catch kind of behind him, but still really good throw. He threw some out routes to Hudson. He threw a couple of great fades to Robertson down the sideline. That one he dropped, one he caught. The pass to Shanker down the seam where the defender had his back turned.
Yes.
And he trusted Shanker and threw it right. That's an NFL-type throw. I mean, he threw some really good passes in that football game. If they don't drop balls, he ends that game 28 of 39 for like 250 and a touchdown. I mean, he was not the issue in that game. There was only one time, I'm sure there were others. There was one time I tweeted about it where he got a little happy feet. There was a stop and go they ran. CBS pointed it out. I think it was Shedrick Jackson on the top of the screen where Bo even pump faked it. He pump faked it and then immediately left the route. And Shedrick Jackson stop and go blew by the corner. But for some reason, Bo, well, we know why. He pump faked it. And then in his head, the clock was like, I don't have time. Or if I stay on this and it's not there, then I'm screwed. And so he just left the route. And Jackson's wide open. And that's the kind of play that you got to show Bo and go, hey, if you'd have stuck with that, it's a touchdown. If you throw a ball, it's a touchdown. But literally, that's one of the only ones I saw that was really egregious on Bo. He played really well, I thought.
He did. And it's ultimately the nature of the position. You're the hero or the GOAT, right? And it's an entirely different side of the spectrum from LSU to Saturday, against Georgia. So it is what it is. And Bo's obviously proven that, hey, I get it. I understand it. Like it or not, I'm going to be me. I'm going to make the plays, or there may be some plays left out there on the field that I could have made better or whatnot. But ultimately, he is going to be as good as the guys around him. They have got to make the level of plays that they are capable of making. You've got to, as back, he expects the receivers to catch the ball, and he has to. If he didn't expect a particular receiver to catch the ball, he would never throw it to him.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
It's predetermined. I know. I don't care if you're the number one target on this play. I'm not coming to you because I don't think you'll catch it. There's zero confidence. But he's obviously got mental confidence in the guys to make the plays. It's just consistently they're not making them as consistently as you would expect an SEC football player to make, period.
Yeah.
And, you're exactly right. You cannot look at yesterday's game or Saturday's game and say, if this, Auburn wins the game. You can say, if this, there would have been a slim shot, right?
Which is all we talked about. All I talked about was get it, play 2 games, get it and get it late, and then play the late game. And the things we're talking about gets you to playing the last 15 to 20 minutes in a position where you're in the game. I mean,
that's right. And that's all you can
catches the ball, that's a touchdown. If Robertson catches the ball, that's immediately a touchdown for Georgia. Then you got the 3 points. Shivers drops it to pick. That turns into 3. That's 7 points taken off the board for Auburn, and that's 10 points directly after for Georgia. I mean, then you throw in Capers, the DPI, which absolutely was pass interference, and that's not Auburn's fault. I mean, there's just a couple of plays for that game being, like 21-17 or something like that. Sure. It really could have been 24-17, or it could have been that kind of game heading into the fourth.
It'd have been much more resemblant of the Penn State game. You think about it from the standpoint of coming down to the wire. Georgia would have had to. You think about it, Georgia would have had to maybe get 2 or 3 first downs consecutive on the time off the clock, or Auburn potentially having the ball in the last possession to try and make a field goal or drive the score touchdown to win or tie. It would have been the result may have been the same, but it would have been a much more tightly contested ball game if those plays had been made by Auburn, either offensively or defensively. Period.
Yeah.
But you're right, man. And I'll say this: Harsin paid Georgia as a football team and as a coach. He paid Georgia what I think is probably the best compliment you can pay a football team when he said, that's who we want to mirror image of.
Yeah.
We want to be like that football team. That's who we want to play football like. I don't know of a better way to compliment a football coach, football team, and a university.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I thought his post-game comments were – I thought Brian Harson's post-game comments were interesting. He talked about, he was asked about the receivers. Thought he kind of had an interesting – well, it's not – I could have predicted the answer. They asked if the rotation would change at wideout, and he said, look, guys, the rotation's created for how you perform in practice, meaning the guys that are out there do better in practice. So and then they go out there and they drop the ball. So what do you want me to do? It's like I guess there's a little bit of a tough spot of those other guys not quite doing the little thing. So I'm supposed to just hope they line up correctly in the game and catch the ball versus the guys that do line up and then drop. So the whole position I think is an issue. But yeah, complimented Georgia. So that's the team that we want to be. But he made no bones about it, and I'm glad you brought that up because there's Harsin and Bo Nix, both of their post game comments I wanted to talk about because one, Brian Harsin made no bones about it. I mean, he was asked, hey, some of those mistakes, especially early, some of those things, did you feel like that kind of affected your ability? He was like 100%. I mean, he was not hiding the fact that if his team would have made the plays he thinks they should have been making, they would have been in that ball game and had a chance to win. He does not think. He's not sitting there going, man, Georgia's just so good.
Right.
No, he's going, Georgia's so good, but if we'd done what we could have done, we'd had a chance to win the game, and I'm mad that we didn't, and I'm disappointed that we lost. So I thought his answers were good on that, and I felt that from Bo Nix too. Bo Nix generally, and he was after the game, he's pretty politically correct, except for when he's basically telling the refs, you screwed up. Which he did. He's like flat out. He was like, they missed the call, and they're grabbing him. Like, what are we supposed to do? But you could sense the frustration in Bo Nix in making plays. He didn't call anybody out, but he absolutely said we have to start making plays. And you could sense him. You could sense him. I mean, he actually one of his answers he said. He said, Georgia's a great team, almost like saying, look, fine, Georgia's great. Listen to me say Georgia's great. But then he was like, we could have been in that game. I mean, he was very frustrated. And you could see it on the field a few times where he's mad. I mean, he's busting his ass the last two games. I mean, they took him out of that game late, partly the score, but he was fatigued. The possession before that, he walked off the field. He was beat. I mean, they sacked him 3 times. They hit him probably 6-7 times. He was running. He was scrambling on top of that. I mean, it was a pretty gutsy effort from him, but you can sense the frustration in him a little bit. And Brian Harsin, okay, we're 6 games in. It's time for people to make plays. Stop dropping passes. Stop lining up incorrectly. I don't know if you saw this, but you remember the play to Shanker? It was the play before Robertson's drop on 4th down. Shanker in the flat, overthrew Shanker. That play. I didn't even see what happened live. Did you see what happened live? Demetrius Robertson stood on the line of scrimmage and didn't move.
He never moved.
Never moved. And that's communication. He's not even paying attention. I don't know who he's looking at. So it's like I don't even know whose fault it is. The point is I guess we'll go back to coaching. Like that's somebody's fault. That just is ridiculous that's happening 6 games into the season. That's the stuff that Harsin and Nix are like, and especially Harsin is going – the little things, like, come on, guys. Like, he is so frustrated about those things not being done right.
Well, all right, so let's go into kind of subliminal messaging, right? And you think about – so first off, I love the fact that Brian Harsin and even Bo Nix, they expect to win every game they play in, period. They don't care who they're playing. there is a level of expectation to win. They're gonna face better football teams, but they're not just gonna roll over and play dead. You play. Here's the Dennis Green comment: you play to win the game. Period. That's it. Or who was that? Was that Herm Edwards? You play to win the game.
To win the game.
Period. But when you think about this, and he made his comments post game were, the amount of playing time that you get as a receiver or even a player on our football team is indicative of the way you practice that particular week. What that tells me, and I know you agree with it, that tells me that the kids that aren't playing, because if the ones that are at the receiver position now are having as many busted formations, mental mistakes, and drops, that tells me that the ones that aren't playing have their ass on their shoulders. If you can't see that, grow up, kids. Have some maturity about yourself and realize, man, if I just busted at practice, I'm going to get an opportunity to shine. But apparently they can't see the forest for the trees. That the opportunity is there. Nobody's going to give it to them. Those days are gone. They're going to – Brian Harston and his staff, and even Mike Bobo and Bo Nix or TJ Finley, they are going to play and going to trust the guys that they can trust at practice, period.
Yeah.
They're not going to waste their time on guys they can't. So for these young men that have more talent in their pinky toe than some of these other players that are out there, getting playing time on a Saturday, they need to wake up and realize that there is an opportunity to be had, but they've got to take it.
And it makes you wonder what, that's kind of the other question is, all right, so those are the reliable guys in practice. Okay. Does that mean that they're catching everything in practice, or does that mean that they are still potentially dropping some passes in practice, but they're still more reliable than the other guys? Either one of those are bad choices. If you're Harston and Bobo, though, Harston said something after the game, and he said it about red zone. Auburn continues to struggle in the red zone. They were in there 3 times against Georgia, scored 1 touchdown, kicked 1 field goal, went for it on 4th down and didn't get it. They've been in the red zone 17 times this year. They've got 9 touchdowns and 6 field goals. And so 9 for 17. And he was he was ticked about that after the game. He's like, we have to score touchdowns. And he's like, we have to. He's like, this has got to stop. He's like, It's getting old. He was very – but what he said about it was, he goes, something has to change. We have to do something different. And so my question would be, well, why can't you apply that to wideouts? Why is it, well, those are the guys that practice well, so they're going to play. Why isn't your attitude, something has to change? We have to do something different. And if that means, all right, Malcolm Johnson might do everything right, but I'm going to put him out there in some situations and run a route that he knows. And, it's just frustrating to see these drops. I think they're at, according to Pro Football Focus, they're at 23 drops this year. They had 19 last year, and I think in 10 games, and 22 the year before. Yeah, so they're at 23, and that's look, Shanker's even got 3 himself, but most of that's wideouts. Kobe Hudson's been good. I think he's got 2 drops, and he's been targeted 32 times. He's been by far the most reliable, not just in what you've seen in dropping passes, but D-Rob's got a bunch. And, there's just a lot mixed in.
Kobe Hudson is, in my opinion, he's developing into a very reliable receiver. He's making the catches. Obviously he had what I would consider kind of some struggles early on, but here as of late, I've been very happy with the way that he has played and performed, making the catches that he's made. But there has to be more than him. Yeah. Demetrius Robertson, he's got to make those catches. It is literally one of those things. And listen, catch the ball.
And they catch from Bo Nix every day. So I don't want to hear people are like, oh, well, that was a fastball to Sean Shivers. Look, okay.
Who cares?
You catch from him in practice every day. You catch out of the jugs machines. I get the comment of sometimes on the swing pass, you could I get that there are times maybe when the guy's close enough to you that you could throw a bullet and you're like, hey, that maybe that. But you catch from him every day. You catch from the jugs machine. I didn't see anything. Bo Nix throws the ball hard. He does it every day for 2.5 years. I didn't see anything out there that I thought could you say he threw hard? I could be like, yeah, he threw a bullet. But it's your job to catch the ball. So I'm not siding on the people that were like, well, that was a little hard. Like,
No.
you're playing Georgia. You're playing the best defense, one of the best defenses in college football in the last 20 or 25 years, and you're going to go, well, a little hard on that pass, or not
what do you
where
want him
you
to
need
do?
to put the pass. Like, come on.
You know, what do you want him to do? Let him float it out there and then put you in concussion protocol?
Yeah.
I mean, the kids they'll kill him. So and I'm even, you know, in my opinion, you know, I'm probably more likely to give a running back a little bit of a pass on a drop than I am a receiver, right? But the drops that were had on the swings, they have proven time and time again that those are catchable balls. Why against Georgia are they drops? It's not the quarterback. In my opinion, it wasn't yesterday. And again, everyone has bad days, but they are just magnified. They're magnified against a team of that caliber.
Yeah, magnified, absolutely. And if your Shivers look on some of those, and you know, I mean, some of those was Bo Nix threw it out there fast for a reason. Because he's saying, I need to get you the ball quickly, because if I don't get you the ball quickly, but he's like, if I don't get you the ball quickly, you won't have time to get the ball, turn your head, and make a move. I'm trying to get it to you fast because I see the linebacker or I see what's going on. I'm trying to get it to you quick so you can turn your head and have time to make a play. If you want me to kind of soft it out there, that's cool. You're going to get lit up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think the you know, and then look, Auburn's inability to run, no surprise there. I don't even know that if there's really any time worth spent criticizing or talking about their inability to run. Georgia's front's really good. Auburn didn't run the ball that great against LSU. They had moments against Georgia, some perimeter stuff. I think the score, getting to 2 scores so quickly, hurt Auburn's ability probably a little bit to stick with the run. They ran 29 times. They wanted to obviously probably hit the 40 mark. But, you know, we knew that was going to be tough. We knew
there's part, you know, that game, and you can't do it. But, you know, when you look at it, the way that it trended and the way that it went so quickly, I think it totally got Auburn out of their thought process or their plan very quickly, and sustained drives, you know, milk the clock, understand that big plays are pretty much not going to happen. You know, you've got to earn every single yard, and it wasn't going to come on the ground, period. I do think that if you're going to, you know, the way that Auburn performs, let's say Saturday against Arkansas, then obviously you've got, you know, Ole Miss, then or Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and then South Carolina. Those are going to be the games that you really, in my opinion, you're going to judge the rushing attack. Those defensive fronts are more human.
Yeah,
I mean,
Ole Miss had 324 yards rushing on Arkansas. Now Arkansas rushed for 300 something yards, but we know Arkansas can run. But Ole Miss had 300-plus yards rushing. Auburn should be able to get a ground game going against Arkansas, and I think it's going to be a similar game. I mean, I still think Bo Nix takes him over KJ Jefferson, but it's going to be a war.
You said it best, and it always is, Hope. The Arkansas game every single year, regardless of how good Arkansas is, that is one of the most physical games that Auburn plays every single year. Arkansas is a physical football team. I mean, their head coach is an O-line guy. You know he's going to be physical. So they better buckle up.
And last year, Arkansas outplayed Auburn, I thought. I mean, Auburn was very fortunate to win that game, raining a little bit, kicked that field goal. Arkansas looked like the better team last year in those
Yeah,
circumstances.
no doubt. No doubt. It'll be interesting. I think this one, man, you hate to do it, but you ball it up, throw it away. It's done. It's over. Move on and put it behind you. There's not a ton of great stuff to take out of it, but I think a lot of the bad that happened were self-inflicted. And you've also got to give kudos to the fact that they're a damn good football team, and just move on.
Yeah. The other interesting things I want to hit on before we go is a couple of the things Harsin said after the game. One, I thought you had some pretty good insight to him as a coach. I wish more people could have seen well, you can probably go to YouTube and watch it on Auburn Tigers. But he talked about being encouraged. He goes, "I'm encouraged to get back out." And they were kind of like, "What do you mean encouraged?" And he kind of went into this long answer of talking about, "Hey, he was like, I love football." He's like, "I love football." He's like, "So for me, every chance I get to go back out there and coach and develop and be with my team," he's like, "That's encouraging to me." And he talked about and he really just talked about how them as a staff and him as a head coach, he needs time with his team, with his program. He's like, it's just going to take time for some of the things they're trying to instill and get done. He's like, it's just going to take time for this stuff to take root. And so it's kind of cool listening to talk about him just being a pure football guy and be encouraged, and just, he's like, I can't wait to go back out on Sunday and get our team better and just spend time with them and build the culture. He's got a very practical view on a game, on like what you learn and don't learn, on what to take from it, on how long it's going to take to get things done. I generally like his approach. I think he I sometimes listen to the questions that are asked and his answers, and I think about the way fans look at games, and Brian Harsin's like, none of that computes with him. I mean, he is on a different world in terms of what he thinks is important and not important, and how he values and all that stuff. And I just thought it was really interesting. And then the other thing that was interesting was he was asked if this is a rebuilding season, because he talked about, hey, I need time with my team to build our culture and to set our standards in place and those kinds of. So somebody said, well, so does that mean you think this is a rebuilding job? Which is kind of a gotcha question, especially because who asked it. But he was like, well, I mean, it's not a rebuild. He's like, no, in the sense that like we're committed right now to this team to winning every game. So like there's nothing about this. It's like, well, let's just get through the year, and well, maybe next year's our year. He's like, no, we're trying to win right now. Like, so in that regard, no. He's like, but like, yeah, we have to build our program and build our foundation and build our culture and build our standards. And so part of that, Auburn could have gone undefeated last year. If you change coaches, there will be some kind of rebuilding that has to happen. So I thought it was a really fair, honestly, like a fair answer from him on just kind of how he's approaching the program and just needing time. He just needs time with the guys to develop the things they want to develop.
Well, and you think about it, this isn't the NFL. You can't throw the last couple of games in order to secure the first round draft choice, right? I mean, it just doesn't work that way. It's not you're not getting yourself a lottery pick. I think, quite frankly, it's kind of a slap in the face when you ask a coach, is it a rebuilding season? I mean, they're going to be dedicated to what moment they're in that particular season or whatever particular game or even week. But it's like you said a second ago, they could have gone 12-0 last year, won the college football playoff, changed head coaches, and they still need to reestablish a culture, because no head coach is going to sacrifice their philosophy and their program to just jump in and plug and play and reuse whatever the former coach's philosophy was. Their egos do not permit that, and they're in that position for a reason, because they are type A and they want it how they want it. So I don't saying that it's rebuilding or whatever. I think it's more of a reestablishment
Yeah.
or an establishment of the way Brian Harsin wants things done. And he means it. I think he's sincere about the fact that he wants to spend time with the kids. He wants to learn about them and vice versa. That's what you want a head coach to do. That's what you want a coach to do. And I think it speaks volumes to the parents of the recruits in that they've got a head coach or potentially a head coach that wants to learn more about them week in and week out. Just have more time with them, because they're within that establishes trust between the two.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense. Well, look, we'll see where Auburn goes from here. I think the thing that Parson has talked about now multiple times after games that has to start playing itself out, and that is new mistakes. He said that after games twice, saying, hey, at some point we have to stop making the old mistakes and make new mistakes, which is a good. I think it makes sense when you say it. And I think they're making a lot of the same mistakes, especially when it comes to busted coverages. Nehemiah Pritchett gets beat twice, but Darius Knighton got beat. Really, it's probably the only three that I can think of off the top of my head, but they were busted coverages. And then there was a couple other plays Georgia had in the passing game, but really some those three were big plays. But he just wants to see new things, and I don't know when that'll kick in. I really don't. People talk about, I don't think Smoke Monday that hurt Auburn, but Smoke's not great in pass coverage. He would have had nothing. I don't think Smoke being in there would have helped at all. With Pritchett getting beat and Knighton. I mean, Knighton, I watched that play. He's got the guy. They just ran across and he gets lost in the wash again. It's like, I'm surprised they're not teaching those guys to go over the top. I don't know why they're trying to go underneath and then you're chasing. But anyway, new mistakes. That's the thing. They've got to start making new mistakes, and we'll see. That's a quick turnaround, man. They got travel to 11 a.m. in Arkansas, so they got some things to figure out before this Arkansas game, and it's a big. If they somehow could turn around and get a W there before a bye week, massive, massive, massive. I think it's going to be. They can't. I think after Penn State, I think they dwelled on that too much. I think because it was before Georgia State, I think they dwelled on that Penn State game a day too long. About, man, we just a couple more plays. That this game's gone. They better be gone with it and be full on Arkansas and not go, man, if we'd have made a few more plays, we could have been in there with number one Georgia. That better not be their thought process, because Arkansas is absolutely capable of being physical, running the ball on them. They play an interesting defense that at times can cause a quarterback problems, especially a quarterback that can be erratic. Arkansas, if they're not careful, they could go lose that game by 17 points. They really need to be focused.
Well, this is the same level of stress is on this particular game against Arkansas as there was against LSU. This is a must-win game for both of them. This is a must-win game for both teams, and puts whomever is the victor, puts them in a much better position come for the remainder of the season.
All right, man. Well, appreciate you joining us, man. It was a tough one. Auburn's 4-2. They drop out of the polls, because that's what you do when you lose to number one. You drop 7 spots. Not that rankings mean anything, but it just shows how stupid they are this year. All right, Auburn goes to Arkansas, another tough game, bye week, and they're going to have another tough game against Ole Miss. And then you see A&M, what they're capable of. So doesn't get any easier for the Auburn Tigers. We'll see what they got. Ben, thanks, man. Appreciate you breaking down the Georgia game. We'll see what Auburn can learn from it. Appreciate everybody listening. Go to auburnlive.com. Subscribe if you're just listening to the podcast. Please go subscribe, man. We have a lot of good information and coverage of Auburn basketball, football, recruiting, big recruiting weekend. They already got a commitment from Drew Bobo, the son of Mike Bobo. So go to auburnlive.com and listen to that and check that out. Subscribe, $10 for a year. That's killer. Appreciate everybody joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.